Yeah, yesterday which we were trying to understand about EC2 instance. Yes, that like comparing with that about our computer components. The same components, if we need it from the AWS cloud, then what is the service that is available, and from the service, what are the different inputs that we can use it to launch the virtual machine. But what are the main inputs that we are trying to understand that is, yeah, whenever we are launching the EC2 instance, first basic input is AMI, that is Amazon Machine Image. So which operating system that is required? Is it required the Linux or the Windows operating system, or is it Windows, MS SQL Server, or Ubuntu based system, or Red Hat based system? How you are going to decide that is by choosing the AMI. This is the basic input. Next, another input which we are trying to understand, instance type. That helps to define that core process units with a RAM capacity. Yeah, these two inputs, if you would like to define to the virtual machine, then EC2, what is the concept we have is instance types. Yeah, once there's a RAM and the core process units have been defined with instance type, then another input which we have this is storage. Yes, hard disk, how do we have to the computer? Yes, storage is required to define to the virtual machine. But what is the concept that is available from the AWS EC2 section is that is EBS, Elastic Block Storage. The default which is going to give that 8 GB for the root volume, and the type of the volume is GP2, the general purpose, second generation, and SSD type. Then we have some networking settings, but we are using the default settings. We didn't do anything to assign that IP address, that is using the default networks. Then security group we are talking, that has important concept point of view. Yes, we need to define that inbound rules, especially inbound rules. Yes, what is the service that we have or which is running in this EC2 instance, that is SH service or HTTP service or a Tomcat service or the database service, which service you are running the service, if anyone would like to access it, then the port has to be enabled. Thus we can say that's indirectly the firewalls. But in the AWS terminology, in the EC2, we call it as a security group. Yeah, there are some set of components which are trying to understand it to create the EC2 instance, but these are all not only. We were using this one more input, that is a key pair also. If you are connecting to that SSH EC2 instance, we need to have it SSH username and a private key, public key. That is a passwordless based communication. There is a private key and public key is required. This public key already there in the EC2 instance, and whenever we are generating that, it is prompting for that .pem file or .ppk file. Yes, we were using the .pem file, that is download it and keep it in the system. From which system do you want to connect it? On the system, this private key is required. Yeah, so there are the points that we are understanding with practically, that is launching the EC2 instance and how to connect it. And after connecting, we were installing Apache packages also, right? Yes, Apache service we are installing, and we were using the security group to enable the firewalls for the 80 and the 22. Yeah, so this was the topic which we had it yesterday. Is it clear? Anyone completed the task? Any issues, please let me know. Or if you are completed and if you are good, just type this in the chat window C. Type C. Only one member. Okay. So you are working on IAM user groups. So, okay, that have been completed. Today I will do that. Okay, good. So what about others? Please quickly give whether you have completed or started or not yet started.
Not yet started, sir. Will start today as occupied with office work.
Oh, okay. Fine, but take some time and.
Yes, we have one major activity, data center failovers.
Oh, okay. Fine. If you others says the critical
From
activities.
today, I'll do this.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. No issues. But make sure that you have completed all these activities. Maybe today, if it is not possible, tomorrow at least. By end of this weekend, you need to have it. Yeah, the whatever we discussed in this week, end of the week. So be on track by the end of the week. As you are, as some working people point of view, we can understand that. So on the same day, it is not possible, but at least on the base of the time. So just adjust about your time and try to spend some time on this lab guides also. Yeah, EC2 instance is not able to started through AWS console. Having some troublesome issues with AWS credentials. We have all privileges like EC2 full and S3 full access privileges. Okay, so you are saying about it starting options.
No, I'm able to log in through by EC2 instance through by mobile extern.
Okay.
But in the console, we couldn't able to log in. It's saying that credentials was not up to date or something like that. Let me. When you are showing in the last time, you able to access that console is EC2 instance in both sides. One is AWS console and one is mobile extern. I'm able to log in through by mobile extern, but not through by AWS console.
Okay, fine. Let me quickly launch the EC2 instance and let me show that the scenario. Yeah, so let me go ahead and review that once again EC2 launching options. Yes, whenever we are launching the EC2 instance, yes, there are already some terminated instances I'm having here. So don't worry about this. Just let me go for launching instance. So I'm going to give the name as a server. And AMI, yes, make sure that AMI, which AMI are you going to use it? That is Amazon Linux 2 AMI. So try to use that Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Or if you are good with that, okay, Red Hat and Ubuntu, yes, you can try with that also. But Amazon, if you are using, use it Amazon Linux 2 AMI. This is some stabilized one. And then instance type uses the T2 micro. And the key pair, yes, the key pair, as we were understanding, we need to download the .pem file. If you have already that .pem file directly, you can use it. Yesterday we are creating this one, right? Demo one. Yeah, I'm already having that. Then I'm going to reuse the existing one itself. We don't need to create each and every time for each instance. So same key pair you can use it for multiple EC2 instances. Yesterday we have already created the demo one. I'm going to reuse the same one. And network settings, as we're talking with the default, okay, let's leave it at this section. And the firewall, a security group. Already we were creating that yesterday one security group. Let me use that, the existing security group, instead of creating a new one. So let's select that, the existing which we are creating yesterday. I hope so. Launch wizard 4 or 5 something which we have, right? I have so many security groups, but I have so 4 or 5 which one. But anyway, so let me take it one of the the security group, or even if it is not working, then we can change it at any time, right? In bound rules. Yes, I'm going to use that existing security group, that nothing but once the security group and key pair is available, yes, you can reuse it. These are key pairs and security groups for multiple EC2 instances. But if it is not there the first time, go ahead and create a new security group or a new key pair. But once it is available, use that existing one instead of creating that every day. Okay, I'm going to use it the security group, and this is the storage default one. We are good. Yes, they're all the main inputs we are talking that. Let's launch the instance and view all the instances. Now it is showing this in the pending option. Let's wait until getting about it. Instance state should be running, and status check is also important. Status check, as we are expecting that 2 by 2 status checks should be passed. 2 by 2 status checks should be passed. So what is the 2 by 2 status checks? I'll come back, but it is in the initializing stage. Just wait until getting about that status check, that is 2 by 2. Okay, once this is ready, the recommended approaches is use the mobile XTEM or the Git bash to connect it to this EC2 instance. Or if it is required the quickly to connect it and access it, yes, you can use that connect option from here also. Yes. So if you would like to connect it directly, use this section, EC2 instance connect option. Yeah, connect using EC2 instance connect. Yeah, so this is a public IP of this instance, and this is the username. Then try to use this connect option directly. It works, no issues. Yes, now it has been connected.
Yeah, I'm getting in this area. It's saying that your AWS credentials is not authenticated. Something. Let me read that. Either your AWS credentials are not valid or you do not have access to the EC2 instance.
Okay, are you using this option EC2 instance connect?
Yes.
The same section, right?
Yes.
Or are you using the session manager?
No.
Don't use the session manager, EC2 instance connect, then you can connect it.
Yes.
EC2, same one.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm able to see that, but my zone is different. Maybe it's not like that for you.
Okay, no
also,
issues. No issues with zone. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I verified that policies also. I given the all grants like EC2 instance, full access and read access, S3 full access, read access.
No, S3 not required. This is anyway specific to the EC2. Now we don't have any dependency on S3.
Maybe we need
Then,
to open the port 22 to connect.
Yeah, so he's able to connect from the mobile XTEM is nothing but that port is enabled.
Oh,
I hope so. Because he's saying that mobile XTEM he is able to connect it, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we can check later, sir. You can continue the class for today, and I'll share that. I'll try and explore that. Maybe if anything is missing my end, I don't want to disturb this.
Okay, so yeah, let me conclude the final that solution. Anyway, maybe others can also face it. That yeah, the permission sections. Do one thing. Just check it. Other EC2 permissions also, not only the EC2 full access. If it is showing that the clearly that's belong to the access issues is nothing but check it about that EC2. You have given these two roles, these two policies, right?
Yes.
Try to use it that. So role policy for the launch wizard. So try to use these two roles also, these two policies also, and check with that.
Yeah.
Because directly we are using that session manager. I'm using that administrator user. That's why I'm not getting any issue. So EC2 management point of view, no issues. So, but yes, SSM or session you are accessing is nothing but that is another policy that is required, EC2 related. Check these two policies attaching and then try to verify it.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a session related, the issue, which are trying to access the console. And then you are not, I mean, it is clearly saying this, right? You are saying about it, you don't have the proper authorization to access the instance.
Yeah, one more small doubt, sir, in this. What is the type? There are three types. One is AWS managed role-based something, job function and custom. What is the
So we
which
can
one?
create custom policies. That will come back later, custom managed policies.
Okay.
And whatever we are using now, these are all like AWS managed one. So these are all like you see this AWS managed policies.
Okay.
And I was creating the before some custom policies as customer managed. That means we have created the policies. So that is a customer managed policies and job function. I'm not sure exactly this one. So the job function, I need to look into that.
Oh, okay. So our focus is AWS managed only.
Yeah, for the timing, go ahead with AWS managed. But later I'll come back to that. How do we create about our customer managed also? So whenever we are working with that S3, those kind of services, how do you control it more deeply on as per the service point of view, the resource point of view, how you can create a custom managed policies. That is, we will talk it later.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good. So that's about the issue. Just check it with that, adding additional those SSM policy and one more thing which I was showing that the role access policy. So maybe it is going to work.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So that's about instance launching and working with that. And now let's move into that. The next section. Already we got it SH communications, right? If you go back to this next section, that is how do we SH2 into EC2 instance. Already we are working with that. As from about our Windows system, we can connect it to the EC2 instance. But what we need to have it is security group level port has to be enabled. This is important. Yes, if you are able to connect is nothing but that port is enabled. But if it is blocking, suppose we'll see there's two types of the errors. Whenever you are connecting to the EC2 instance from about our local systems, two types of the errors we'll see that. Whenever you are connecting to the virtual machine of the AWS or anyone, the remote machine. One type of error is connection timed out. Connection timed out. If the connection is timed out is nothing but the system is trying to connect it to this EC2 instance, but it is not allowing to enter into this. So it is waiting. And after some specific time, it's got network timeout. So if you see this, the timeout, connection timed out exception returning back, then think it about it, any firewalls are blocking or networks are the blocking. So that's level we need to verify it. Second type of issue, what we have to see is connection refused. Connection refused. Connection refused is nothing but yes, we are able to enter into this EC2 instance, and we are able to access the 22 service or HTTP service or whatever it is, but that service is unavailable. Suppose SSH service is down, even the port is enabled also, you cannot connect it, right? Because the service should be up and running, then only we can access. Suppose Apache service is down and you are trying to access in the browser that Apache URL, it doesn't work it. Even the firewall is enabled also. So two types of that errors. One is blocking, entering into that machine. That is, we say the connection timed out. And connection refused. That means yes, network level we don't see there's any issues. Everything is expected. It is trying to connect to the service, but service is not available. Maybe service is down. Maybe service is busy. Service load is high, which is not able to accept the more requests. Those cases, we'll see that exception, that is connection refused. Are you clear about these two exceptions? So type this in the chart window, clear? The very important in the troubleshooting. So if you see this connection timed out, then think about your security group is blocking or not. And if you see the connection refused, then yes, the service is down. Okay, so that is the very important understanding that. Yeah, now let me show that even we can use it that git bash terminal also, not only the mobile extern. So with the SSH command, now the system is up and running, right? The EC2 instance. If I'd like to access this EC2 instance, yesterday we are using mobile extern, but even if you have this the public IP address, and let's go to this git bash terminal. This is my git bash terminal. I can use it SSH. Normally, what is the SH syntax which we use it? Username. This is the default user we are talking that, and IP address. Yes, we use it, this option. If I try to use it and just and just observe that it is awesome that are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yeah, this is the host name verification. So just to confirm that first time. But after confirming that, so it is added to the list of all the host nodes, fine, good. But still to access this user, permission denied. So why it is permission denied? It is checking with the public key, but we didn't specify that a private key, right? Private key required to authenticate this EC2 instance. In the mobile extern, we are adding that private key. But how do we specify that in sh command is -i. -i is the argument. And wherever you have about your private key file, specify this location. I'm having in the downloads. And yesterday we are creating something demo, right? Yes. So this is the file, the PEM file. Specify the location of the PEM file, complete. Yes, in my user home directory, the downloads folder, I have this PEM file. Or if you have this, wherever you have the location, there's location you can define. Then specify the username and with the IP address. Yeah, it is saying about it unexpected token. So these are all like escape characters. We need to use it. Let me try to use the escape character, because normally in the file names we should not use it, the square brackets and all this, right? But as a back already demo.pem file is available and it is created one more file and it was given that a name. You can rename this file or you can use it escape characters like this. That is /. Now whom we are able to connect to the EC2 instance. Yeah, it is same thing like which we are doing that in the mobile extent. You can use it any SSH client. Now you can work with us. Yes, let me do quickly. Sudo yum install httpd sudo systemctl start httpd. Yeah, now this httpd service is running. Now I can take this public IP. So let's copy the public IP and let's go to the browser and we can access this service. The same thing, yesterday we were doing that through the mobile external and today I have done through git bash. Doesn't matter though, they're all the SSH terminal. Any terminal you can use it. Different clients, different tools they use it. But get familiar with the mobile external. Anyone is asking you like which tool are you using that as a SSH client? Yes, mobile external or git bash or putty, you can say that. The different tools are available in the market, but objective is the same. Okay, now it is connected and we have successfully, and yes, the security group and everything is enabled, right? 80 port, it has been enabled. Yeah, if the security group is not enabled, then it is going to blocking for the port 80 here itself. Suppose if I shut down the service, if I stop the service, before that, let me show that netstart command output. How do we verify which are all the ports listening? netstart-nltp, yes, 80 port is listening. We are good, and that's why we are able to access it. It is defined on the network interface, any IP address. This is the meaning. So you can access it outside also. Now let me go ahead and stop this instance. Now the port is not listening. 80 is not listening. You don't see this port here, 80, but 22 is running. That's the SH is running. Now if you go back to the browser and if you refresh that, now you see this 404, the page cannot be displayed something. Yeah, so Firefox cannot establish a connection to the server. Yeah, so if you see this kind of exceptions, connect to the server, yes, this is the service issue. But if the service is up and running, let me start this service. Yes, my 80 service is up and running on the system. But if I go back to the firewalls, that is security group, and if I disable this security group over here, for the port 80, yeah, now we are allowing this only 22. And even if I try to the connecting, now you see this, it is trying to connecting. You see that it is connecting. That means before entering into the service itself, the network level, it is stopping that. So that is blocked. 80 is blocked. Others, they cannot enter into that. We have blocked it. So it is, you see this before, it was immediately showing that cannot establish a connection. But now it is as that the network timers which we have that, yes, it is trying to use it the default around 300 seconds of the time. So it is going to try to connecting it. Now you see this, the server at this is taking too long to respond. But before it was showing that connection service is not available, some message. But now you see that the different message, it is taking the too long to respond. That means service is available, but it is blocking. So then you need to check it about this kind of the issues. whether whenever you are connecting through SH service or whether any service you are accessing on the in the cloud or not only cloud, anywhere. So make sure that the no blocks are stopping about your request. So it is taking too long. There is a connection timed out. So then think it about your security groups. Is a clear understanding these two problems? Sometimes service will be down. Because of that, we'll get the issues. The client or sometimes the requests are not forwarding to the backend servers. Sometimes, yes, the connection timed outs. Then thinking about it from which network he is accessing that the client and whether it is CADA block is allowed. Now here CADA block we are allowing that from anywhere. Then anyone can access it. But especially internal applications, whenever we are accessing, we use it the specific CADA block. Only from that CADA, the users can access this service. If anyone is accessing this from other networks, then it won't be allowed. Yeah, security group is one of the important thing as the security constraints. So connection timed out, if you see, then think about your security group issues. Yeah, firewalls is the first entry point as before entering into EC2 instance. Now here the point, one more point which we can understand on the security group is the firewall before entering into about our EC2 instance, before entering into that OS and EC2 instance, it is verifying that. So if you are blocking the particular IP address here, that means you are allowing the only particular IP addresses. Yes, it will be allowed to enter into this system. Or if it is blocking, that means here itself the request will be stopped. It won't be allowed to enter into that even EC2 instance. So if you go to the OS level also firewalls are available. But that is, those firewalls are going to executing once the request is entered into the OS. But the security group is not at OS level. This is the hardware level itself before entering into that EC2 hardware resources. So then it is going to check the rule. If the rule is allowed on the service, it will be allowed to enter into that. Or if the rule is not allowed, then it will be blocked here itself. Yeah, working on firewall can be depicted from that below diagram where it allows connections from the trusted users and blocks from hackers. Suppose if we define the particular CADR, only the CADR who are accessing that will be allowed, and other CADR blocks that will be blocked. Yeah, so that is the beauty of the security group. So we have this inbound rules and the outbound rules. Inbound is the request which is entering into the EC2 instance, and outbound is from the EC2 instance to external. Yes, whenever we are working with the security group, we have the two types of the rules. One is inbound. Suppose by default, what is that inbound? Everything is blank. Inbound rules are by default, whenever we are creating a security group, everything is blocked. But on the base of the services, we can add the rules. Whatever the rule you are adding here, it is nothing but that is allow rule. You are accepting the entry. But for the 22, I don't see this any rule here is nothing but that is a blocking. Now, if I save this one, that means now the EC2 instances which are using this security group, you cannot access it on SSH level, you cannot access it on 80 level or other ports, other services also. Everything by default it is blocked. But you are defining any rule here is nothing but this is a allow rule. Yes, if you define any rule here, What is the meaning of this one is nothing but this is the allowing, you are allowing that. But if you don't see this rule, so 80 I don't have here and only 22. That means 22 will be allowed and other services will be denied. That is a blocked. So if you are defining any rule here is nothing but that is a allow rule. But remaining all that rules that will be denied by default. This is for inbound. Inbound is the requests which are entering into the EC2 instance. But outbounds, if you observe the default, outbound is nothing but from the EC2 instance to the back, right? To the users. Then we don't have that much the problem, right? So anyone is asking that entering is, we need to be very careful. But from the EC2 instance, you are returning back is nothing but this is the trusted entry. But anyone is asking that, yes, we need to verify that he is a trusted person or not. Suppose we have in our home the main door. Anyone is entering that to the home, it has to be verified at the door level, whether it will be allowed the person or not allowed person. But once he has entered into that, but he is returning back, then so it is not required that much security, right? But if you like to define, you can define it, but that is not required that much security. Yeah, that is outbound. Yeah, security groups are the fundamental of the network security in AWS. They control how traffic is allowed into or out of about our EC2 instances. That's why we say that inbound and outbound ports. Yeah, security groups are acting as a firewall on EC2 instances. They regulate access the ports and authorized IP ranges. Yes, you can define that particular IP address or source of CADRs. The inbound rules are nothing but from other to the instance. Outbound is nothing but from the instance to other. If you try to understand this, suppose you have the EC2 instance and you have defined one security group for the inbound, filtering on that IP address and port with rules. And this is the outbound. Yes, any security group if you are defining is nothing but inbound, everything is blocked. Outbound, everything is allowed. That is a default behavior. Inbound is everything is blocked. Outbound is allowed. Suppose you are trying to access from about your computer authorized port 22. Yes, that will be allowed through this security group as inbound rule if you define it. Or other computer. So it is allowed only for about your IP address, but other IP address is not allowed. That means it will be blocked here itself. It won't allow to enter into that. To see that's even that EC2 instance. This is the network level itself, it will be blocked. But outbound, yes, any IP, any port by default that is defined. Yes, where do you have that option is? In the security group, if you just observe that. Inbound anyway, we are talking this, but outbound, if you see that already all protocols, all the ports to any destination, it is allowed. If we see this rule is nothing but here it is a allow rule, but it is allowing that all the protocols, all the ports and any destination. But suppose inbound rule, which I have defined 22, I need to allow that only from my system. Then what I can do that is my IP, if I use it, then only my system, it will be allowed for the 22. Any others are trying to use it, it won't be allowed. Yeah, this is a specific IP address I have defined. Yes, what is my IP? If I just browse it, This is a public IP. Yeah, it is showing us in IPv6 format. Let me try it IPv4. Yeah, so my public IPv4 address is 136.185.254.7. Now, if you check it here, yes. So only from this IP address. What is the /32? /32 is nothing but only this IP address. As we are trying to understand the CADR formats, you should remember now whatever the network concepts with the CADRs which we discussed, the public IP, private IPs with the CADR /16/24/8/0 or /32. What is the formula of this one? /32. What is the meaning of this one?
Only one IP subnet.
Yeah, only this IP. So what is the formula it is going to use it? 32 minus 32, that is equal to 0. That is a 2 power 0, that is equal to 1. That means only this IP. The formula we are understanding that. Yeah, so now only this IP address which will be allowed, and if you try to access my instance, it will be blocked. Yeah, only authorized the IPs you can define it, and ports we can define it. So in the security groups, the authorized one will be allowed, and not authorized one will be blocked here itself. Yeah, so some important points understanding on the security group. It can be attached to multiple EC2 instances. As one security group, you can attach to multiple EC2 instances. Suppose I need to connect it to the multiple EC2 instances with SSH from my system. Then what we can do? Create one security group, especially for SSH, allowing that only for about your IP address. Then attach that one to all the EC2 instances for the 22 port. And the security groups are locked down to a region, and within the region also VPC scope. So VPC is the network, current network scope only, it can be used. If you are in the different network, you cannot use the security group. But for the timing, each region is having one default VPC, just go ahead and use it. But what is the VPC? That's the concepts will come back. Yeah, does live the outside the EC2, if the traffic is blocked with the EC2 instance, won't see it. Yes, as we are talking about it, if it is blocked, then that request will be outside of the EC2 instance only. It won't be allowed to enter into it. It's a good to maintain one separate security group for SSH access. Yes, SSH point of view separate security group which will be created, and we use that security group to enter into that. Yes, if about your application is not accessible, that is timed out, then it is a security group issue. If about your application gives a connection refused error, then it's an application error or it's not launched. That means the service is not working. Then you need to check it service level. Service is running it or not, and what is the state of the service. By default, all inbound traffic is blocked and all outbound traffic is authorized. Yeah, so whenever you create a security group, that is the default behavior, but it can be customized. Inbound, outbound rules. Yeah, so that's about some important points on the security group. Very, very important concept, the security groups. Yeah, referencing other security groups, right? Yes, like what is this point is, if I go back to the security group section, and if I'm defining that any inbound rules, let me add it one rule for HTTP. So whenever I'm attaching to the source of IP address, I can use it this ADR blocks or these IPv6 formats. They're all IPv6 formats. Or I can use it other security group also. I can use it other security group also. You see the demo or load balancer security group or launch visa for. So we have other security group also. Suppose if I define this other security group. So what is the meaning of this one? Here I didn't define that CDA block. Subnets or like which systems or which networks that you want to allow it. I didn't define it. I have defined security group. So when do we use it? This one is, let me draw one simple diagram. This is very, very important concept. And we'll see this, all this is practical also, but for the timing, just understand the concepts. Suppose here I have the load balancer. Which are configured on port 80 something. And here I'm having that EC2 instance 1, EC2 instance 2, EC2 instance 3, like that multiple EC2 instances are on. Like a web server 1, web server 2, web server 3. Like that, 3 EC2 instances are running with the application where HTTP is run. Some web server on the port 80. Now for each instance, we need to define the security group, right? Security groups we need to define it. Before entering into the EC2 instance, we should define the security group. On which port we need to allow that? 80 port. But which source of IP addresses I need to allow that? Okay, port you are going to allow that 80. Fine, good. You can create one security group, not require the 3 security groups. You can create one security group and you can attach to the multiple EC2 instances. But while creating the security group, port is 80, but what about the source of IP address? Which one do you want to allow that to enter into this EC2 instances to access this 80 service? We need to allow that only from the load balancer, right? So we need to allow only from the load balancer. Here there is no CADR concept. But how do I know that only the load balancer? Now the load balancer is going to have one security group. You need to define it, right? For the load balancer also one security group. So before anyone is asking about it, so it should be verified here, whether it should be allowed or not. Here this is the public. So we will use it that CADR is, okay, this is load balancer is running on the port 80. Then what is the security group rule? We will define it. Allow the port on 80 from the CADR, that is 0.0.0.0/0, any IP address, because this is the public one. But these are all the private one. I should not allow that from anyone. Okay, here security group, we will define it 80 port from any IP address. Yes, 80 port it is running. Yes, we are allowing that 80 port from any IP address. This is a security group we have defined. This is load balancer security group. But what about this instances level? Now instances level, I need to allow that only the load balancer. I should not allow that from other IP. Suppose I have some other EC2 instance. Some hacker is trying to access that from other system. And if you would like to access this one, these instances, we should not allow it, right? So this should be blocked. So how do we define this is, this security group, we will define as a reference in the web server security group. Yeah, so this is, let's assume that this is the web server security group. So web server security group is going to refer the load balancer security group. That's nothing but we are going to allow that only the instances, that means load balancer which is using this load balancer security group will be allowed to enter into that. So we refer that other security group. What is that other security group? Load balancer security group. If I refer that load balancer security group here for the security group, then only this load balancer will be allowed to enter into this EC2 instances. But any other IP address or any other instances is trying to access it, it will be blocked. That's why we say that referencing one security group from another security group. Now web server security group is going to refer the load balancer security group, or if you have the database backend. Now the database should be allowed only from these servers. Then the database server security group, we will define that, we will difference with the web server security group. That means the instances which are using the web server security group will be allowed to access the database. So that's, we say that the reference. So here if I define that, suppose load balancer security group, that means the load balancer which is using this security group only will be allowed to access this port 80. If anyone is trying to access it, it won't be allowed on the port 80. So only SSH, only my IP address, and HTTP service only from the load balancer security group. Yeah, the security group, which instances are using or which load balancers are using, only those instances will be allowed to enter into that. That's we say that referencing other security groups. Suppose you have the EC2 instance and you have created the security group, allowing that for the inbound other security groups, that is security group 1 and security group 2. Now suppose I have one EC2 instance which is using the security group 2. Now will it be allowed or denied?
It will allow that data will go out only to this group. If the security group is defined example 80, only that goes with EC2
Yes.
instance.
It will be allowed. Simple. Because here for this EC2 instance, whenever we are creating the security group, we are referring this other security group. Security group 2, we are allowing that. Now this EC2 instance which is attached with the security group 2, automatically this EC2 instance can access this EC2 instance on that port. Port, what is the port? It doesn't matter. 80 or 22, some XYZ port. Suppose you have another EC2 instance which is attached with the security group 1. Which will be allowed or not?
It's allowed, sir.
Allowed, sir.
Yes, this is also allowed because already we have defined referencing that security group 1 also. Yes, the EC2 instances which are using either security group 1 or security group 2, all those instances can access this EC2 instance on that port. Suppose you have another EC2 instance which is using the security group 3.
Not allowed, sir.
Not allowed.
Yes, this instance won't be allowed because we didn't authenticate it for the security group 3. So the instances which are using security group 3 are not allowed. Overall, the instances or load balancers or whatever it is, which are attached with the security group 1 or 2 are allowed to enter into this IC2 instance. Other instances which are using other security groups are not allowed. So that is the beauty of this referencing that one security group with another security group. Whenever we are designing, especially internally, that is load balancer to that web server layer or web server to that app layers, app layer to the database layers, we use it security group references. We use the security group references only at load balancer level. We will allow that any IP address. That is a high security. Load balancer can access anyone, no issues. But my application and application data, everything that is in the backend, I need to restrict it, allowing only from load balancer. Or database, if I'm having database, allowing only from app server instances. How you can control that security mechanism is referencing one security group with another security group instead of CADRs. CADR, you can define it. Yeah, here we use the CADR block for the load balancer entry. But load balancer to the backend, we use it. This security group we refer here. That means only this load balancer will be allowed. So that is the level of the security which you need to think of it. The very, very important security groups, the management, whether do you want to give that CADR level or whether do you want to refer that other security group. In the layer approach, 3-tier architecture layer, we are going to talk it. There we will discuss about these references. But yes, as security concepts, we should know these things. Are you clear about the security group points? Type that's a CLR quickly in the chart window if you got those concepts.
Sir, one question, a small question. For example, I have 10 data centers in my data center, and each data center, they might have different subnets, and
Yes.
9 data centers, they have different subnets because of they have some PCI servers. Some of them is not PCI. So for allowing them, do you need, for example, we have a couple of Azure servers, and they justly give that host name, and without using any PEM file or anything, we just use that host name. We were able to log into through by PuTTY. So in this case, what is in background the security group they enable without in end users? For example, we have an offshore, they're also logging through without any PEM file, just simply by supplying that Oracle host name and credentials. That is some, for example, service account, Oracle or CRID or whatever. How that possible? How they create the security group in this scenario?
Yeah, so this is as we're talking about the security group of VPC scope, and within that VPC scope in that particular region. But suppose if I'm having the data center, like suppose Windows system which I'm accessing from my offshore data center, yes, offshore network, and I have the instances in the different network, that is in a client network, a client data center. Then we need to use it site-to-site VPNs. The first connecting the VPN from about your site to your network to the other networks. So that is which we can say that we have the VPC peering mechanisms, and we have that like VPN site-to-site or client-to-site that is a particular system to that connecting to that about your network. We have the different solutions on the networking level. Obviously, the security group is going to play that important role, that is entering at instance level. We are talking that here, entering that instance level, but as about your scenario, that is entering at networking level. So networking level, yes, we have that offshore network. How do we access it? The cloud networks, that is VPC endpoints, which we can use it, or a direct connector solutions are available. Or if you have the storage point of view, storage, the gateways, we can use it. So that is the networking level with the different solutions. But end of that, the section, if you're going to access that in networking level particular instance, yes, the security group is instance level entry point. But whenever I'm going to talk at the networks, that is VPCs and VPC level particular subnet, before entering that, how do we evaluate it, that all these allow rules and the block rules, we have another concept, NACL also, network level access control list. That is another level of that. Before entering into the network, the evaluations, that is allow rules and the block rules. Is it clear my point? That is a networking level which we need to discuss that. But that is here, instance we are talking that instance level firewall is security.
Yeah, in this case, I'm not a network level expert. So what would be my chance? I mean, do I need learn everything from network perspective to become a solution architect in cloud?
Yeah, so we are going to cover that some networking concepts. If you know that those networking, how do we create VPCs, how to create a subnet, public, private, and gateways like internet gateway, NAT gateways, and how do we define that NACL, that is networking level, allow or deny rules, and instance level, yes, security groups. Yes, we are going to have the demonstration. And if you know that these concepts at least, then on the base of the requirement, next level of that, which you can extend it.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, thank you.
But required all these networking points also as a associate engineer, as a AWS cloud, yes, the architect, associate engineer, as we are talking about it. Yes, we are going to cover that networking concepts. If you know those concepts, then you can extend later. That is a direct connect. How do we use it? That is somewhat the advanced level which you can look into that. Master into the next level of it. But AWS essential associate engineer point of view, we are going to cover the networks. Definitely, those things will be helpful.
Okay, and one more thing. What about these putty things?
Sorry?
How the people directly to connect to passing the host name and username and password without using any PEM file or any some RSA keys, anything.
Correct. With username, password, you are asking this, right?
Yes, we didn't pass anything in PEM file or anything because we have a number of 100 members there, for example, include all that. All 100 members, they were not get any PEM file for that. They simply supplied that host name and they just logged in. But my scenario is that Azure's everything is managed by Microsoft team. We gave that requirement. This is the requirement we need. For example, in our scenario, I need this much of EC2 instance. For each EC2 instance, these are the host name I need, and these are the blah blah blah. And by end of the day, they give that this is the host name, this is the username, and this is the password. Once you logged in, you go and verify your password and change your password, and you will be allowed for those servers from here onwards. They send an email and we logged in, we changed our password and we'll share across our team. But none of our team member changed anything in the PEM file. Now I am worrying that where that concept without using that PEM file concept, if for example, you created 100 servers, by end of the day, you gave a supply that these are the servers, use it, and this is the username. For the time
Yes.
being, they gave the default user, and the default user have the root access, and we change our servers account, but you didn't supply any PEM file for our organization standards. So how
Yes.
can all our other members have access without
That is
PEM?
SSM manager, as I was showing about it, SSM concept, right? Session manager.
Oh,
So that is the service which is available where you can define that the users in the session level. Then once if you define that the users at session level, then with that session, they can access that the number of systems which are there in the session without using any explicit credentials.
okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'll
So
explore that.
SSM service, if you just refer it, then you will get the solution on it.
SSM means single sign-on something?
No, not that. That is a session manager. The
Okay.
single, that's the first is I'm not sure, but session manager is the service which is going to help you to handle without using, suppose if we just talk it here, that EC2 instance, okay, 22 is enabled, right? Let me define for, suppose if I go to that instance and if I connect it, now I'm not entering that any the credentials, nothing. So just if I connect it, I'm able to get that this session.
Correct.
So it is working with that session manager concept because already I have logged in here, right? To this AWS console. So with this session, it is going to use it and it is going to connect into the system. I didn't specify any PEM file explicitly.
Yes. But in Putty, how you log in? But in Putty or mobile external,
Yeah,
you supplied that demo PEM file, right?
correct.
So how can you?
That is, you need to create the separate session manager for it. And with that session manager, that username and password, if I share it, yes, one time if you log in it, then you can access that the number of times.
Oh, without PEM file.
Yeah, without PEM file. Even in the next DevOps solutions, I'm going to talk it without the PEM file. How do you manage it about your AMIs? Now we are using these are all the default AMIs. Whenever I use it, these default AMIs, it is expecting that whenever I'm launching, use the PEM, create a PEM file. But we can create about our custom AMIs with custom username and passwords.
Okay.
So whenever I create my custom AMI, if I launch it with my custom AMI, I don't need that specifying that PEM file. I just use it, the username and password.
Okay, we will see that in further class. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that is, we have that in the DevOps automation scripts. I'm going to use the Terraform to create it while launching the instance itself. Defining the custom users and the passwords without having any PEM file dependency. But for the timing, default behavior, we are in the still initial. So default behavior, if you're launching that with the default Amazon Linux 2 AMI, that is required the PEM file because they didn't give that in that AMI, the username and the passwords. They have just given that username and with the key file based authentication. They didn't give the password based authentication.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, so is it clear, the points?
Yep.
Yeah, good points. Okay, anyway, yeah, so that is the main security group. Security group is, just remember that is instance level allow rule or block rules. But networking level, if you move it, yes, that is a different NACLs are available. So before entering into that one level verification, and after entering into that network and before entering into EC2 instance, that is another level of the security. So we'll come back all those things one by one, don't worry. But we are in the just the initial phase. Okay, now let me move that another concept, public and private IPs. Yeah, quickly, already we know that this concept in networks, already we discussed. Class A, Class B, Class C, the range of IP addresses. That is, as IPv4 point of view, the 4 octets, and each octet 0 to 255 we can define it, right? Yes, IPv4 0 to 255. That means 3.7 billion different IP addresses we can get it. That is a limitation from the IPv4 addresses. 3.7 billion IP addresses. One device you are using, that is a laptop you have connected to internet, or mobile you have connected to internet, is nothing but we have dedicated IP address. Think of it, how many devices we are using on the internet, how many IP addresses that is required. But IPv4 is not sufficient. That is having only 3.7 billion. That's why they have extended IPv6 also. Yeah, now whenever I was observing that my IP, before it was showing that IPv6, right? Yeah, IPv4 we have some limited IP addresses. But if it is extended or if it is not sufficient, then the IPv6 is coming into the picture. Especially IoT based application, like sensor based applications. Suppose you are controlling the AC remotely, or you are controlling about your car through remotely. Then which type of IP address they use it? They don't use it IPv4, they are going to use it the IPv6 based. Yeah, but most of this in our application environments, application management point of view, the private internal networks point of view, we use the IPv4 format itself. Yeah, so internal private networks, suppose you have the company A and company B. Yeah, so let me just explain public and private. Suppose you are accessing the RisenShineTechnologies.com site through internet. But RisenShineTechnologies.com is a domain name. But backend, it is going to use that dedicated server for it, right? Dedicated IP is required. On the internet, if you like to access, that is required as a dedicated public IP. But backend, it is mapped public IP. But instead of giving the public IP to you, I'm giving that RisenShineTechnologies.com is a site. So public IPs are over the internet. Simple. If you are using the www and you are accessing that, any instance over the internet is nothing but that is going to have the public IP, and this is the unique. Suppose one IP address has been assigned to my server is nothing but same IP address you don't get it. That's why we are saying about it 3.7 billion IP addresses up to that which you can use it. But internal networks, suppose we have the data center in the data center, web servers and the app servers and the database servers. Yes, I can use it. The different subnet mask for this. As a number of IP addresses required point of view, as we're talking to the CDR notation. /16, /24. /24, how many IP address? 256 IP address it is going to give that. Or if I need the less than that, then you can use it /27 something. Yeah, so like that, you can define about your private networks. But private network is that is within the network. So the same private network can be used by other companies. Yes, they can use it, no issues. Because that is internal. But if you would like to give it external, yes, you need to use it public IP. Yeah, you are connecting internet to these instances is nothing but gateway is required. That is a public gateway. And this must be unique IP. Public IPs are the unique. Private IPs, yes, where you can reuse it in the different networks. No issues on it. But in the same network, you cannot use it. Suppose here in the same network, I have used 192.168.0.1. But in the same network, I cannot use it that with the same CDR. Suppose from this network, I need to connect it to this network. We can establish it with site-to-site VPN softwares. We can use it, and we can have the communication between this network to this network. But the point what we have is this ADR must be different and this ADR must be different. Suppose already I have used it here, but this network ADR must be different. Then only I can map it these two networks. But if I have the two networks with the same CDR, then I cannot. We cannot map it because there is overlapping of IP addresses. Yeah, private IPs are internal, which you can in the different networks, same IPs you can use it. But public IP, that is a unique one. Yeah, public IP means the machine can be identified on the internet, must be unique across the whole web, and it can be geolocated easily. Suppose how the cybersecurity team are able to find that from which location the operations have been performed, that is sending emails or some kind of yes, over the internet they have performed some activities, nothing but how they're able to trace it. Yes, the public IP address, if they are able to find it from which IP address that's operated, then they can easily locate it that the person who has done that, the activities. Yeah, the public IP. Yes, now my public IP address is available on the internet. So if I'm doing that any activities from my system, everything that will be tracked through that IP address. Suppose if I use the Gmail server, sending that email. Now my public IP address will be used to send the mail over the Gmail. Gmail server is going to track it, my public IP. At what time I send the mail, and which mail I have sent, to whom I have sent, everything that will be tracked. And if you go to the Gmail server logs, then if it is identified the public IP, yes, who has used this public IP, that's with the system and the location, they can track it. Yeah, that is geolocated. Yes, the public IPs are the geolocated, and it should be, I mean, it unique address across the whole web. But private IPs, as we're talking, that they're all the internal. IP must be unique across the private network. Yes, within the network, that IP must be unique. But two different private networks, that is the two companies, can have the same IPs. Machines connected to www using an internet gateway. Yes, how do we get it? The internet is, that is the gateway. Suppose in our home network, if we need that internet Wi-Fi something, then we go for approaching that internet service provider, right? That is Airtel or Active FiberNet or whatever, Geo. That means he is providing gateway to access about our home network with internet. Just we say that is a gateway, internet gateway. He's giving that gateway. Then using that gateway, we are getting the internet to about our home devices. That is about your mobile or laptop or tab which you are using. The same way, whenever we are working in the data center also, the instances, that is EC2 instances which we are using, if I'm able to updating the packages, and if I'm able to install the packages, is nothing but internet is available. How it is getting that internet to the instances which are running in the data center is, that is through the gateway. Yeah, but private IP's point of view, one important point is only some specified range of IPs can be used as a private IP. But what are those? Yeah, what are those? So we see that private IPs especially, let me just define that. If you see this 10 series, 10 dot something, Or if you see that 172.17 to 172.31, I am so yeah. So this range. And then next another one we have, this is 192.168. If you see this any instance which is having this IP address, then we can think of it that is a private IP. Remaining any IP address if you see other than this series, something like a 1 dot or a 3 dot or something 27 dot, those are all belong to that public IP addresses. So whenever we are defining the network, anyway, in the VPC we'll come back that all these things. But yes, understand it. Yes, EC2 instance you are accessing is nothing but we have the public IP and a private IP. Yes, if you go to the EC2 instance and if you just click on that, and here you see that public IP. Yes, this is the public IP address of this instance. But private IP address, if you see that it is having the series 172.31, 10 dot series or 172.16 to 172.31. First two octets. The remaining, these are all the device IDs. Network ID, this is a network ID. 172.16 to 172.31. If you see that, that is a private IP. Or if you see that 192.168, mostly in our home, the devices, like in our home systems, we see that 192.168 private IPs. So if you see these series, then think of it, they're all the private. Remaining any series, you see that they're all the public IPs. How do you identify on the basis of that IP address, is it a public or the private? That is very, very important. Remember that private IP ranges 10 series 172. So in the AWS, any instance which you launch it, all the instances are going to use it 172 series. That means in the VPC level, they have defined private IP ranges using this series, subnet mask. Or some places we see that 192.168 series. If you see this series of IP addresses, just think about it, they're all the private, and the remaining all the series are the public IP addresses. Is a clear understanding that the public and private IP addresses? Security groups, one concept, that is a blocking level. And the second thing which we are trying to understand it, yes, any instance which we are launching that instance is having the public IP, private IP. Public IP, you can access it from the outside network. Yes, from about our Windows system, how I am able to connect to this instance? I'm using the public IP, which can be accessed through the internet. But which can be, which IP address should be allowed, which IP address should be not allowed, that is security group level, we are defining that. But here the point, that is public IP. From about our Windows, we are able to connect. Private IPs, what is the private IP? That is only within the network you can access, not outside of the network. That means from my Windows system, I cannot use this IP address to connect it to this EC2 instance, because my Windows is having the different network and my EC2 instance is running in the different network. That is AWS Cloud Network. Those are all the two different networks. I cannot use the private IPs from one network to another network to access it. Are you clear on these points? About IPs? Yeah, now let me show this one small magic here. Suppose if I stop the instance, I'm going to stop the instance. Let me confirm that. Now before that, observe this instance public IP 217.99 and private IP, this is something 4.187. This is 99, this is 187. Now I just stopped the instance. I'm going to stop the instance. Still that is stopping. Yes, instance has been stopped. Now you see that private IP still it is there. Yeah, good. Private IP address still that is the same that is available, but public, now we don't see that public IP. As yesterday we were talking about it, whenever I stop the instance, runtime resources will be released back to the AWS pool. Runtime resources. Public IP is very important, right? That is the internet. On the internet, that unique IP address it has been taken and it has been assigned to the EC2 instance. Think of it. How many accounts and how many systems are going to use these IP addresses? So getting that the public IP address is a lot of demand for it. So whenever I stop it, immediately what it is done is the public IP address, whatever it was assigned before, that is released back to the pool. Because anyway, you are not going to connect to this instance whenever it is down. But private IP still it is there. Because that is internal network. There is no demand for the private IPs. Still it is using that same IP. Now whenever I start the instance again back, yes, successfully started, it is saying that, so I'm good. Before it was stopped, now it is starting that. 2 notifications. Now it is starting that instance. It is initializing. Now you see this, we got it that public IP from the pool, AWS pool. But this time now that is a different IP address. Public IP address has been changed, but private IP is the same. It is not changed. You see that 4.187. 187 is still there. Yeah, before it was 217.99, but now it is 47.251. That means what in the pool, whatever the public IP address that is available from the AWS pool, it has been taken one dynamic IP address and it has been assigned to the instance. That means whenever I stop it and start the instance, public IP address is not the same one. Suppose my developers are using the previous IP address. That is, what is that? 249, right? Sorry, 99. They were using 99. But after restarting my instance, now the IP address has been changed. What I need to do? Now again, I need to share it, boss. Don't use it, the previous IP address and use this IP address. I need to share to that. All my development teams or testing teams who are using that, the environment, are using this instance. Then how do we make sure that even it has been restarted also, we need to have the standard IP address, standard static public IP address. Static. Now this is the dynamic. Whenever I stop it, yes, it will be released. And whenever I am starting, yes, it is going to getting that the public IP address from the pool. This is a dynamic. Private IP address, leave it that. It is not changed. So whenever we are going to use it, Ansible and all the stuff, we depend on the private only. Only external communication point of view, we are trying to use the public. But even we don't give directly these IP addresses, right? Until that's only testing environments or development environment, we use it. But UAT and production, if you go to that, everything will access this application through the load balancers. That will come back later. But for the timing, first understand the EC2. Yes, development team, they need to have that one instance for their development related integration test to run it. Then you need to provide instance for them. But that instance, once we stop it and start it, the IP addresses are changing. Then we don't keep on ping that, boss use this IP address, use this IP address. No, we don't ping it. We need to have the static IP address to this instance. Then how do we define the static IP address? That means we need to take it to one specific IP address from the pool, Amazon pool, that is a public IP address. That's we need to assign to the EC2 instance. So what the concept that is available is, I need the 5 minutes more time. So just quickly we'll close it. So we have this in the network. Yesterday we discussed, now before we discuss the security group section. Now we are moving to that one more concept, elastic IPs. Elastic. But we don't have any elastic IP so far here. Now what I can do is I can take it elastic IP address from the Amazon pool. Yes, in which region? Mumbai region, that is AP South 1. In this region, I need to have Amazon pool of IPv4 address. Yes, I'm requesting, give me that one IPv4 address to the Amazon. So this is the global static IP address. Yeah, you can add the tag something. So to identify it, then just allocate it. Now we got it one static IP address. Yes, this is the static IP address. That's a public IP. But it is not, we just taken that public IP, but we didn't assign to the instance. Still my instance is having, what is the IP address? 251. But if I stop it and start it, this IP address is going to change that. Yeah, instead of using this dynamic approach, now we have the elastic IPs, right? We have created elastic IP. You can take this elastic IP and you go to the actions. You can release back. Suppose if you're not using, then release immediately. Because they're all the high demand. Yes, we have this high demand on these IP addresses. Suppose you are not using, and if you are keeping this in your account, it will be chargeable. It will be chargeable. You have taken this IP, but you are not using, then it will be chargeable. But you have taken and you have assigned to the EC2 instance or some NAT gateways, then we are good. Because already you are using other resources, cost is there, right? So that is the logic behind this. So if you're not using, immediately release back. Release elastic IP address. That means you are releasing back to the Amazon pool. But I would like to assign this one to EC2 instance is go to that associate elastic IP address. Do you want to assign to the instance or a network interface? Yes, now we have that instance only. Yes, which instance? Yes, this is the instance. Select that. Or if you have the private IP address of that instance, you can use the private IP address also. But we have chosen anyway instance based, then associate it. Now this public IP I have assigned to the EC2 instance. If I refresh here, now this is my public IP. I can access my application using this public IP. Maybe instance is running it or not, or maybe blocking, not sure. So anyway, that's yes, now we can use it this IP. Even if we stop it and start the instance also, my IP address will be, public IP address also will be the same. It is not going to change in that. Backend, I do the maintenance activities, but I'm not giving any impact to my developers or a testing team. So they can use the same IP address. Maybe there is security group is blocking, right? Yes, if I go to the security group, So it is keep on trying. You see that? Keep on trying. That means security group is blocking. Let's go to the security group. Let's check it, edit inbound rules. Yes, HTTP, yeah, we were defining the security group level. Instead of that, let me define, okay, let me delete completely this. And let's add the rule for HTTP and allowing on any port. Yes, after enabling, immediately we will get it that. Security group, you can enable or disable during runtime. Still it is not allowing, maybe the instance, okay, so instance we have stopped it, right, just now. Yes, good. Instance has been stopped. And still my public IP address is not released. Let me go ahead and start the instance. But even after starting also my IP address is same. Then if I'm having any maintenance activities also, each and every time I don't need to update the IP addresses to my development teams or testing teams, right? Are you clear about this point? Elastic IP. Yeah, still it is initializing. Let's wait some time. Then, but maximum don't try to use the elastic IPs. Avoid that. That is the best architecture mechanism. I'll conclude that points. But if you are managing that's any development systems or testing systems, and if it is required the standard IP addresses, then use the elastic IP. Take that elastic IP. So that is straightforward, simple steps. Go to that elastic IP and allocate elastic IP. Then one IP address you will get it. Take that elastic IP and assign to the associate elastic IP address to the instance. It is still not able to access. That's he's using something 15. Okay, 15 only, right? Oh, still it is initializing. Let me use the different browser. Stop this. Maybe I have installed HTTP service over there. Now let me use this new IP address. Oh, that is inactive. So that was stopped. Yeah, so now we got it, the test page. That instance, I mean, the service was stopped. Fine, good. Yes, now that we got it, the permanent static IP address. Suppose today the instance is failed. Let's assume that this instance is got failed. Now I can terminate it. I can launch that another instance and install Apache. Then take this public IP address and assign to the new EC2 instance, right? Getting the point of it. Front-end users like development teams or testing teams, they don't know that's what's happened in the background, but they are going to always using this IP address. But backend, maybe this instance is a fail. Yes, I can terminate this one and I can launch another EC2 instance and I can install the same service, same configuration. I will do that. And the IP address, this elastic IP address, I will assign to the new instance. Then user is not going to impact it. Who are going to use it? That EC2 instance. Yes, failures to handle that. Static or standard IP address to assign it. So what is the concept is available is elastic IP, but this is not recommended. Suppose if I'm on the 10 EC2 instances, then 10 public IP address, are you going to take it? That is not recommended. So we manage it through the load balancer, and the load balancer, one IP address will define. This will come back later. But first we are talking this at EC2 level. Yes, EC2, some development environment, testing environment, some standard system is required. Then how do we define the standard IP address for that system is elastic IP usage. But elastic IP concept is not always recommended. Yeah, now I have deassociated that's from EC2 instance. Now whenever I deassociated that, then if I go back to that instance and if I refresh that, now we got it new IP address from the pool. This is a dynamic IP address. Now this IP address doesn't work it because this is not associated to any instance. And one more important point, once elastic IP is tested, then release back to the pool. But don't keep that. I'm releasing back to the AWS. Yes, now I'm good. I don't have any elastic IPs. And you can keep on check that in the dashboard. Do you have any elastic IPs or not? So make sure always this is the 0. But if you have something is nothing but that will be background chargeable until if you are not using. Until if you are using. If you are using, no issues. But if you are not using, suppose you don't have any instances, but you have the elastic IPs, then it will be chargeable. Because elastic IPs are the public IPs which are the high demand. And you will get it maximum 5 elastic IPs only. But if you need the more, that is quota limit. If you need the more, then you need to send the quota request, a quota increase request by giving the explanation why do we need that more IP addresses. Is it clear about those concepts? Public IP and private IP addresses and elastic IP concept. I'm going to terminate this instance. I don't need this. Yeah, once activity is done, so make sure that's your terminate. Yeah, that's points for today. Security groups and elastic IPs. Yes, when you stop and then start an EC2 instance, it can change its public IP. But if you need to have a fixed public IP for about your instance, you need an elastic IP. An elastic IP is a public IPv4, which you own as long as you don't delete it. That means you don't release it. You can attach it to the one instance at a time. Only one instance, one elastic IP. Yeah, you can only have 5 elastic IPs in your account, but you can ask AWS to increase that. Overall, try to avoid using elastic IP. Yeah, don't try to use elastic IP for the instances. They often reflect poor architectural decisions. Instead, use a random public IP and register your DNS name to it. That is load balancer, or we have that Route 53 DNS concepts. Yes, as you are talking about it, we will use the DNS name instead of that IP address. Or as we will see later, use a load balancer and don't use the public IP. Yeah, so that's the concept on that. And understanding the public versus public IPs. Yes, that's the demonstration. And tomorrow we will talk it about that one more important section, that is user data. Is it clear that today the two concepts, security groups and public and private IP addresses?
Yeah, sir, one more question. Actually, it is interesting. That Elastic one, can I ask, do you have time?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, the Elastic IP, for example, I know AWS doesn't support clustering concept. For example, in those case, our load balancer, like in our Oracle database, that comes with the public and private as a scan listen. In our case, where it will use for load balancer and how can attach that into the Elastic IP. But this Elastic IP, for example, my database is only touch base with application owner. Okay, I agree with that. For example, my application owner IPs are registered in load balancer. My database is only accepting that load balancer connectivity from the application, or how that access. I mean, I miss that part where it will get that actual. I know as a DBA, I can log in through my public private IP to log into the server and do that maintenance.
Yes.
But how the application is connecting to the database? How you will?
Yeah, that is, I mean, the next classes you are asking that. Because that's I cannot conclude in the single statement how the load balancer can be integrated with the app server and app server with the databases. But we have the definitely once the VPCs and the networks, because we are going to use the different public networks, private networks, and launching the load balancer in the public and launching the middleware components in the private and launching the database in the another subnets. So we have the complete activity, but if you wait until that time, maybe you will get that answer for this question. I hope so. But yes, the load balancer, whenever you map into the EC2 instances, so what the AWS team they are doing, that is load balancer DNS name, they will give it to us. So already they are generating. This is the managed service. So directly use that the DNS name and configure it Route 53 level.
Okay. Yeah.
So instead of using that like internal IP addresses or Elastic IP, we don't use it. So that is as we are talking about it. But just for about your development environment or testing environment, any standard instance is required. But you have some maintenance activities, that is failures activities or starting stopping activities. Each and every time the public IP address is changing, but you need to have the standard IP, then think about the Elastic IP. But load balancers level and other sections, we don't use the Elastic IP until there is a gateway we are going to talk it. That's a NAT gateway. Only in that context we use the Elastic IP. Remaining all the cases not recommended. But a load balancer, how do we generate it and how do we connect or access the EC2 instances? That is, we have the demonstration once EC2 concept is completed.
Now I'm worried to ask any questions, sir, because my question is related to EC2 instance, but my thoughts comes with very quickly.
Yeah.
Existing environment.
Yeah, I understand it. No problem. But that is now currently, as you have seen this, that's the infra, how it is working, and you are trying to apply this to the AWS, and that's why you are asking this next questions also today. But I can, yes, but this is, I cannot conclude all those activities in the single class, but one by one, we'll come back to that. But during the load balancers, you will get that answers, I hope so, for this question.
Yeah, next time, if any questions, I don't know whether that questions comes with later classes. Yeah, you'll get that next class. Simple, but I don't want to disturb your mood because it's not easy to handle all these in 10 members. In different classes is very tough.
Sorry, voice is not clear. I'm not able to hear anything.
No. My question, my thing is, if I'm asking any questions in forward classes,
Yeah.
you can simply skip that. Yeah, you will see that next class, so
Okay.
that I can aware that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, right, it is very tough to handle
Yes.
all
Yes.
other.
Yes. I understand. But yes, I mean, that is a good point. Yeah, definitely. I'll conclude in that way. So you will get in the next whenever we are discussing the particular concept. But I need to explain some point on that to to get that answer from your side also. Yes, load balancer. How do we integrate with the EC2 instances? So there we don't use the elastic IPs. Elastic IP is only the NAT gateway point of view use it, and the remaining scopes, that is less scope to use it. But if you have the semi-space, why we discuss that concept whenever we are not using, if you ask in that way? Yes, some cases we need to have the standard IP addresses for about the development environment, testing environments, and those instances, yes, whenever we are stopping and starting, new IP addresses are generating each and every time, updating to the development team or testing team, those IP addresses, that is a challenging. So those cases, the recommended to use the elastic IP, but elastic IP concept is officially not recommended at the EC2 instance level. That's my conclusion point of view. I was describing that solution. Other than that's nothing. If it is a big concept, definitely I will say that. We will discuss in the next class.
Yeah, thank you. And also, after I discussed, right, I found this is the policy, sir. When you want to connect with the AWS console, you need get these privileges. You will see instance connect.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Good. Yes, that is a policy, a permission issue, definitely.
Correct. Yeah, I found that after I discussed, I verified it.
Okay, that issue also resolved, right? And then you are good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, EC2 instance connect. Okay, good. Yeah, so thanks to everyone. I hope you enjoyed the security groups and public-private IPs and with the elastic IP concept. There are the three things that's noted today. And just go ahead, one more not big concept. So how do we identify the public-private IP? That is one point. And another point is, yes, EC2 instance level, some problem on the public IPs. That is whenever you restart it, new IPs will get it. But how you can achieve that, or how do you provide the solution over there? That's we are talking that. That is one more problem statement. And another one is security group. That is a very important. So blocking about your services, who can access it, who cannot access it. So IAM is one point, that is user level of AWS account. But whenever you are going to give the service to that users, from which IP address that should be allowed, from which IP address not allowed, that's you can control with the security group. As a security concern, that is one of the important point. Yeah, tomorrow we talk about another interesting concept, that is user data on the EC2 level. Yeah, thank you. That's all from my side. It's time running. Sorry for that delay. So we'll meet tomorrow and we'll continue.